session.
Welcome back to episode 23 of the 9 Degrees Podcast, the number one non-educational education-themed podcast in the world. We may have 9 degrees among us, but we still don't know much about anything. And we'll make sure to keep you informed about the most interesting current events in the world, but make sure you use a fact checker because we absolutely never do. As always, I'm your boy Jerome. We got Maddox. We got Jackson. I don't know if Jared is still a part of this podcast. I'm not exactly sure. Like I said last week, if you saw last week's episode, we have a brand new YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/@9degreespod. Make sure to subscribe to the new YouTube channel, and you can catch all of our episodes there. Let's go ahead and say class is now in session and jump right into Homeroom. What's up, boys? You guys got any gripes or things that you want to talk about? Any pleasantries? Jackson, we'll start with you. What's going on with your life?
Let me tell you, I've had some bad luck this past couple of weeks.
In what way?
I've been having car trouble. I had a car in my car. I couldn't start my car. Why are you guys laughing at me?
Because last episode I made my argument for why having a new car is valuable, and one of the points was you don't have to deal with stuff like this because your car always works.
Exactly. That's exactly why I'm laughing.
Are you saying that my car trouble is karmic in a way, and that I'm getting my just desserts?
I mean, I don't wish that upon you, but
yes,
it's validating it's validating my argument. That's all I'm excited about.
Yeah,
I do not wish car troubles upon anybody.
I had a blown fuse in my car, and I also recently had to one of my tires went flat, so I've had between $500 and $1,000 worth of car repairs in the last month. It's unlucky.
Jackson,
that's almost the cost of a new car, except not really.
But okay, $1,000 on an old car is a lot of money to spend on maintenance.
It's also the first time I've had maintenance on this car in the past 3 years, and I've had it for 3 years.
Sure. What car is it? What year and what model is your car?
It's a 2012 Buick LaCrosse, sponsored ad, by the way. Right, Jerome? No, okay.
No, I don't know that we've talked to Buick yet, but future sponsor of the pod.
Are they still making Buick LaCrosses? Is that something we can actually be sponsored by specifically the Buick LaCrosse?
I see them on the road, but I don't know. They're all older, so I don't know if they're still making them.
What year is it?
2012.
Okay, that's not terribly old. 10 years old. A little older than 10 years.
To me, that's not that expensive for. I mean, that's a repair, so that's not your routine maintenance. So it's expensive relative to routine maintenance, but for when you have to repair something on an older car, that's pretty typical. And then it's just a question of how frequently do you have to do that.
And that's what I would say, Jackson, is I think this is where it begins. You know what I mean?
We'll see.
You had your first repair, and then
my purchase of a used car 3 years ago that I'm now having to maintain for $1,000 after 3 years. Are you saying that was a bad purchase at the time?
I don't know. How much did you spend on the car?
Or do you think I should have bought a new car? Do you think I should buy a new car right now?
Ooh, that's a good question.
No, that's not a good question because it's an obvious answer.
I don't think you should buy a new car right this moment, unless you value it in a non-financial way. Unless there are some, what's it called, intangible things that you value about having a new car.
You know what I value in a financial way? My money. So,
all right.
So, wait. I want to ask this because, my view, it's just a trade-off. Do you want to, with a new car, you don't have to worry about the repairs and stuff. With the old car, you get it for a lot cheaper, and then you take you accept the probabilities that you might have to pay for some of these things. When you bought this, did you buy this because if I was going to go that route, I would try to then evaluate what is the most reliable car that I could buy,
right? Like a Toyota or a Honda.
So did you perform that analysis, or did you buy the car for a different reason?
So this car was it's a family car. It's my grandmother's car, and she's told to drive now. And it doesn't have very many miles on it. It has 45,000 miles on it.
Nice.
That's not bad for a 10,000 or 10-year-old car.
Yeah. So I think, and also because I bought it from a family member, we didn't go through a middleman of a dealer. So I think it was it was plus EV is all I'll say for all the gamblers in the chat.
I agree. That is also like a typical, like that's like another, I feel like that can be an optimal route to make that type of decision. Like,
yeah, I agree. I also have a gripe this week. I think I was the victim of a hate crime this week. Let me explain. I live in a building. Maddox has visited me here before. There's 25 floors in this building. And so I live on the 11th floor. You have to take the elevator to go down to the lobby or to the parking garage, right? Oh my God, Jackson, that is a huge water bottle. What is going on? We have to pause.
Oh, sorry, I was just getting a drink while you were telling your story.
What are you a bodybuilder? What's going on?
This is just my half-gallon water bottle. You don't have to fill it up as much. I don't get it.
It's
got a handle.
You're in your apartment. Just get a cup.
Is that a new purchase? I haven't seen that before.
No, I've had this for about 6 months.
Relatively new.
I have 2 water bottles I switch out back and forth. Anyways, what were you saying about the 11th floor, Jerome?
My hate crime. I was getting on the elevator, and I was going down, and the elevator stopped at some random floor, and this Asian man looked at me. I was the only one in this elevator. He looked at me, and he goes, I think I forgot something. And then just did not move and just waited for the door to close on me before I just left. And I was like, wow, I feel like that was a little racist, but who knows? What do you guys think?
I don't know how to comment on that one.
Not much information. We don't have much information.
Yeah.
All we know is that there was an Asian man that didn't want to get on an elevator with me. Maybe I smelled bad.
What floor was he on?
I don't know. Maybe like 9. I was on 11. He was on 9, maybe.
See, I was just thinking, like you said, the only way you can get to your apartment is the elevator, but you could also take the stairs.
Well, yes and no. The stairs are very hidden away, and you can't get to the lobby using the stairs. You can only go to the parking garage. Well, I think you can maybe, but like one of the doors are locked or something. I don't know. It's weird. The stairs are weird.
Not to go on a tangent here, but I'm a big fan of taking the stairs in a building to go up, especially when you only have to go up like 1 floor.
I think you're a big fan of just inconveniencing yourself. I think that's what we have realized on this podcast.
No, I think my doctor would say it's good.
Yeah, I agree with him because it's plus EV because you get exercise out of it.
11 floors?
Okay, well, that's maybe...
Not 11 floors. Maybe 1 floor.
Yeah, he said...
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I think often when it's just a few floors, like it's more efficient than the elevator can be.
Waiting for the elevator. I'll give you that. Up to 3 floors, I'll take the stairs. You know?
I think we're in alignment.
We're in agreement.
Just good for
up
your
to 3
heart.
floors.
Yeah, we're in agreement. But anyway, so I may or may not have been the victim of a hate crime. We'll find out more. We'll see if I see this Asian man ever again. Anyway, Maddox, how's your life going?
Good. I just
perform any hate crimes recently?
Maybe unintentionally. You never know.
Fair.
I wanted to share something with you guys that I've been following recently regarding the advancements of AI and large language models. You know, these things are still there. The hype is dwindling away a little bit, but they're still progressing and getting better. But this is something cool that I've been paying attention to. It's kind of just a pet project that someone made, but it's kind of getting a lot of attention. So I'm going to share my screen now.
Oh, I think I know what you're... Oh, snap. Yes.
Have you seen this?
I have heard about it. I think maybe you put it in our chat, but I haven't looked at it.
Oh, yeah. I guess I already shared it with you.
Wait, is this live? This is live, like right now?
Yeah. So this is Claude's, which is Anthropic, which is just a competitor to OpenAI. Claude is their model. And this is Claude playing Pokemon Red live on Twitch. And
this is so cool.
Yeah. So you can see it kind of working here, but basically what's happening is this is the emulator version of the game, so it's like on the computer, and what it's doing, it's taking a screenshot of the game state, passing it to the large language model to evaluate where it is in the game, and then it has some more context about, how it has all of its context about how to how do I progress through this game? Like, what do I need to do next?
Like it understands like the concept of like, oh, I need to go to the next city and go to a gym and okay.
Yeah. And so it takes the picture of where it currently is in the game, and then it can take actions, and it's very slowly playing through the game, because if you can see what's happening, it takes a screenshot and then it says, okay, I need to navigate over like these 3 squares to like see more of the screen, and then takes another screenshot. So it's very, very slowly playing through, but it is playing through it. And then, when it gets into a battle, it can choose to fight or throw a Pokeball or, but yeah, it's been, I've had this open in my browser for like a week now. It's been going. I think the stream is maybe going down occasionally because it's only at 12 hours right now, but at one point it was at like 50 hours. Yeah. But yeah, it's been fluctuating between like 1 and 2,000 like viewers.
Dude, can you imagine? So is this the actual company behind Claude is the one that's streaming this, or do you think it's just like a random person created this?
It's just a random person, like a pet project I said, or like a research project.
Dude, they're probably making like real money off of this. That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if 2,000 viewers, I don't know how much that is. I'm not familiar with Twitch compensation.
If you can get 2,000 viewers for like 8 hours a day for a month, that's like a regular job, kind of.
Nice.
Wow.
But I think it's cool. I really want to I want to build the RuneScape version of this.
Dude, yes. Yes, you absolutely should.
But it'd be more complicated because, the Pokemon the inputs are very limited. It's up, down, left, right, A, like.
Whereas RuneScape, it's click based, right? You can click anywhere on the screen. Yeah.
But I don't know. It might be something I start messing around with in my free time. But I don't know. I just thought this was really cool and a fun application of this stuff.
Dude, that'd be really cool. And you should absolutely like stream that on Twitch and just see what happens. Have you seen on this note, what's Twitter's AI called? Grok? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
People have started creating like 3D, like whole ass games only using Grok. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the game Doom. It's like a first person shooter type thing, but they were able to recreate Doom, all of it basically, using just Grok, which is crazy.
Yeah. I've been seeing a lot of people. I mean, it's really easy to build stuff quickly, especially like simpler. I mean, Doom it's an entire game, so it doesn't sound simple, but it's an older game, so the mechanics are simpler.
Right.
But so I follow this guy on Twitter who is a digital nomad, which basically just means he travels around and builds apps, and that's his job. But he's got his income is from these apps that he's built himself primarily, but he's got a big following on Twitter. He was on the Lex Friedman podcast, but he just a few days ago was like, hey, I'm going to build like a flight simulator using Cursor. Cursor is, are you guys familiar with Cursor?
No.
So when you write code and you're building a application, you do it in a IDE, which is just usually it's Visual Studio Code or something similar, but it's just a program where you do all your coding in and have all your file structures and everything. But Cursor is like the newest version. It's got all these AI models integrated into it. So now you can just go in Cursor, tell it what you want. It can not only write code, but it can work with files. It can create new files, delete files, like integrate a bunch of stuff. So that is like the future of coding. I've been doing some stuff on there. But basically this guy just wanted to build a flight simulator app, and he just built it in a day. And like now he made it multiplayer, and now there's like tons of people on it. I mean, mostly just because he has a big Twitter following and he was posting about it. But now he's like selling stuff, like optional upgrades and stuff. And he literally just like threw this thing together and like with no effort at all, and is now making money off of it.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah, man, I'm slowly becoming an AI believer. I was not for a long time. I'm still very skeptical sometimes, but dude, AI is so impressive. The things that you're able to do with it, just very impressive stuff, man.
I mean, there's a lot of impressive stuff, but there's also, a lot of dumb stuff about it. I'm still, all this stuff is cool, but it's still like, I want us to get to the point where the AI is doing my dishes and doing my laundry and doing all the stuff that I don't want to spend my time doing, rather than, I mean, it is cool that it's making stuff that is fun and exciting more efficient, but
and at least, like, in these examples, it's still humans that have to come up with the ideas behind it for now.
I mean, like I want AI to take care of my chores while I play Pokemon. I don't want AI to play Pokemon for me while I have to do all my chores.
Yeah, that's actually hilarious. I guarantee you there's so many people that are like folding their laundry or cooking or doing something like that while watching
the AI
Claude play. Yeah, exactly. That's so funny. Should we move right on into first period? Because I've got some things I'd like to talk about. All right. First period with Professor Jerome here. Have you guys heard of Operation Midnight Climax? Anyone?
I've not heard of this.
All right. Have you guys heard of a little government organization called the CIA?
I have heard of this.
Okay. So, back in 1950 something, I don't know if that's like during the Cold War or what, but we did not like a group called the Russians, if you remember, the Soviet Union in particular, right? And so the CIA was essentially tasked with how can we create some sort of there's no other way to describe it, mind control, essentially, to control the Soviet Union. Like, are we able to infiltrate them and then control their minds, right? As a part of that, there was a project called MK Ultra. Are you familiar, Jackson? You're a big history buff. Are you familiar with MK Ultra?
That's not related to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is it? That's what it sounds like.
No, that is not where I'm going. I know I brought up Marvel before we started recording. That is not where I'm going with this. But MK Ultra was basically a government funded program where they used different procedures, like kind of almost torture, and they used different drugs and stuff during interrogations to essentially weaken the mind, right? To get people to tell them what they wanted, and that was kind of their form of mind control. Was can we weaken the human mind and extract information from you that we wanted? Very controversial, obviously, but as a part of that, they would dose people with things like LSD and mushrooms, and they were using that to figure out, is there a chemical reaction in the brain that would get people to essentially like truth serum, like just start telling you the truth and giving you more information. As a part of that, there was a sub-operation to Operation MK Ultra called Operation Midnight Climax, which is where I'm getting at. They hired a man named George Hunter White, who basically would set up a fake brothel in San Francisco. They had two-way mirrors that where they could kind of monitor the situation and everything. They hired a bunch of prostitutes. Again, this is the CIA, the American government, right? CIA/FBI. They would hire a bunch of prostitutes, and they would get businessmen in San Francisco to come to the brothel, unbeknownst to themselves, that this was a government sting operation, right? And they would test their quote-unquote mind control on these unbeknownst American citizens, right? And they would essentially just pump them full of LSD, give them prostitutes, give them all sorts of other drugs, until these men would essentially just involuntarily start revealing secrets. Very, very controversial. But is it insane that these things are just happening like right under, like this was the CIA? Like in my mind, the CIA is like one of the most prestigious organizations to be a part of. And I'm just like, what? Anyway, that being said, George Hunter White said before he died, he wrote in his journal or whatever, it was fun, fun, fun. Where else could a red-blooded American boy lie, kill, cheat, steal, deceive, and pillage with the official blessing of the U.S. government? Anyway, Crazy. I don't know if you guys have heard about this. I saw it on Twitter, went down the Wikipedia rabbit hole and just was like, wow, this has to be a conspiracy, and found out that it was not a conspiracy. It is very, very real. So
This is very fitting, actually, because I just finished reading a book called The Jakarta Method, which is a book that mainly is focused on anti-communist tactics developed by the CIA and right-wing governments around the world during the Cold War for use in the Third World. But a part of that book, an excerpt from that book, talked about certain strange tactics that the CIA, or unusual tactics the CIA used to try to create subversion or counterintelligence. I think it's pretty famous, all the different ways that they tried to kill Fidel Castro of Cuba in like the 60s and whatnot, and failed. Another thing that they did is they used a doppelganger of the president of Indonesia, and they cast him in an adult video that they produced that was and they were going to try to like leak that so that people would like have a negative opinion of him or something in Indonesia. It's kind of out there. They tried a lot of very out there things.
Yeah, dude. It's just interesting. Like, I don't know. When I was reading about this, I was like, this can't be real. This has to be some sort of conspiracy theory. And then you start reading more and more about it, and there's like lots of documented evidence, and you're just like, whoa, what is going on? What else do I not know about? Are there aliens? Anyway,
I think there's probably a lot of stuff that seems like something that probably makes sense that it could have happened like a while ago, you know, but I still probably think there's suspicious stuff going on that we don't know about, you know?
I mean, like the 50s wasn't that long ago, you know? Like that's 70 years. Like that's our grandparents' lifetime. Like,
yeah, but I do feel like regulation has changed a lot since then.
That is true. And even the Wikipedia article that I was reading, said, this specific thing, MK Ultra, led to a lot of CIA oversight and like reorganization and things. Who knows? It's just interesting because like no one knows anything about the CIA. You know, like I'm pretty sure even CIA people, they're supposed to say like that they work for the Department of Energy or whatever. You know, so
at the time though, I mean, the people who in the 50s, they didn't know that this was happening. You know, you say that like, oh, things have probably changed now, but if there were things like this going on right now, we wouldn't know about it either. So you never know for sure.
I just probably feel like it's in a different type of way that it's happening, you know?
Yeah, I like access to information is so abundant now. You know what I mean? That being said, I guess there are still tons of like classified files and stuff that we don't know what's going on with lots of things. Anyway, just like an interesting thing that popped into my news feed that I wanted to talk about. Another thing that I'd like to talk about this week, quantum computing. Microsoft just came out with a brand new chip. I want to say it's like called like the Majora something chip. Anyway, not important. But they essentially came up with a new technology for quantum computing. But before we get there, does anyone know anything about quantum computing? Can someone explain it to me in simple terms? Jackson, you're a physicist.
I am a physicist. I have a physics degree. So I first heard about quantum computing probably 10 years ago, back in 2015. Let's see, what do I remember? I know that the way that information is stored, similarly to how in computing they use bits at the smallest level to sort of create information. In quantum computing, they're called qubits or quantum bits. I know that one advantage of qubits is that because of quantum theory that I'm not going to get into, you can do more operations than you can with regular bits, like superposition, things related to like superposition. So they're a bit more flexible than regular bits. I know that one of the big problems back then, I know one of the big advantages of it is that I know it's good for encryption because you can basically create a quantum state that can only be decrypted by knowing how to something quantum. Yeah.
That was
I don't
great
remember
explanation.
exactly, but I know it's good for encryption, really, because of the quantum nature of the elements involved. I also know that I heard about this 10 years ago, and I haven't heard anything until today.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know that for a fact that one of the problems was that it's hard to create large scale. There's a problem with scale. It was only in the like experimental lab sort of thing. That's a lot of physics talks that you go to, is like you hear these, oh, this is such a great thing, but it's hard to get it out of the lab. It's hard to
Yeah.
scale it up.
Well, so I asked ChatGPT basically the same question that I asked you to just, but explain it to me in simple terms, right? You're absolutely right. Traditional computers use zeros and ones. Quantum computers use zeros, ones. And then, like you said, superposition allows them to be in a quantum state where they can use both a zero and a one at the same time, which allows them to process information a lot faster than a traditional computer. Actually, to clarify, they can process complex information a lot faster than regular computers. Supposedly, simple everyday type tasks that you use on computers, they're still very inefficient because I don't know exactly why, but traditional computers are still faster apparently. So you got to eventually in the future figure out some sort of hybrid that makes this happen. What I thought was interesting was you're absolutely right. Some of the complex things that quantum computers do better than traditional computers are like encryption, cryptography, and things like this. What I was thinking in my head was, what about blockchain? Because one of the things that you talk about with like Bitcoin mining is computers have to solve these complex algorithms and whatnot. Can you use a quantum computer that's good at solving complex problems to speed up the mining process? I don't know. Maddox, thoughts?
I don't know. I have no
All
idea.
right.
I mean, I think
They definitely didn't talk about this at my talk 10 years ago, probably because the blockchain wasn't really a thing.
I mean, I think the concern I always hear about quantum computing in regards to blockchain is the fact that if quantum computing, because of if it comes into existence, then the encryption methods that secure the blockchain currently then become they become at risk of being
you're right. Because the point
overtaken by the quantum computer.
Yeah, you're right.
Or I don't know. I would think the way that mining is set up, though, and I don't know if this is accurate or not, but this is just how
we don't fact check.
How I would go about thinking about this is like, it's a competition, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if quantum computing becomes the most optimal way to mine the Bitcoin, then all the most competitive miners are going to start using quantum computers, and it's still just going to be, it's still just going to work the way it should work, but everyone's competing with, I mean, obviously the people that can't afford quantum computers get priced out, but like there should be, in theory, multiple competitors that are going to have access to these tools that are going to then use those tools to compete against each other, and they will reap rewards relative to those that could not afford the quantum computers, but it wouldn't be. I mean, I think the problem probably arises if there's just one person that has a quantum computer.
Yeah. But you're saying, just based off markets and stuff, once these things become readily available, then everyone's just going to use it, and it's just like, okay,
it's going to become the state of the art, or like
that's the standard, and then it's not going to make mining any more efficient or anything because people are just competing against each other with all the same equipment.
Yes, maybe
effectively.
I don't know if that's actually true or not.
Yeah. Well, big news in quantum computing this week. So a couple months ago, Google released like their version of the newest state-of-the-art quantum computer or quantum chip, right? Supposed to be incredible, X number of times faster, blah, blah, blah. A couple weeks ago, I want to say like 2 weeks ago, Microsoft released their brand new version of the quantum chip. And I think the big problem with quantum computers, as far as I understand, is they're super fragile and need to be in like the perfect environment, perfect temperature. The slightest cosmic ray or like magnetic field will mess it up, and then they'll throw out errors. Right? It needs to be in like a very, very stable environment. And I believe that is because they typically are in, I think Google and IBM and Amazon even, they use a process called superconducting qubits or qubits.
Qubits?
And those they require this like hyper-stable environment. Microsoft just came out with a brand new technology where they use topological qubits, which are supposedly more stable, more scalable, and produce fewer errors. So we're on our way to making quantum computers more readily available and real. That being said, apparently, this has been researched at Microsoft for a long time, and it's just now coming to market, and it's still very experimental, and we don't know. But if this comes into play in like AI applications and stuff like that, then I'm very bullish on Amazon, Microsoft, Google, as we all should be anyway. But yeah, lots of interesting stuff. What was that face?
It's a question mark, because I'm definitely not bullish on those companies, but okay.
Really? In the long term, you're not bullish on Google, Amazon, Microsoft?
What is the long term?
Our lifetime?
Like a week? Oh.
10 years, 20 years?
How do I know what the future's going to look like that far away?
You don't, but you're not bullish.
But why are you making decisions right now that you're so confident in that you can't?
I don't know. These companies are time tested and proven. You're right. That doesn't mean anything about the future.
I mean, you could look back at the companies that were time tested and proven 30 years ago, and are they the ones that made the most money? The answer is no.
Apple 30 years ago
Apple
would be
30 years ago was not time tested and trusted.
Oh, you're right.
The point is
right.
You make the money by anticipating what will become.
Yeah, by finding an Apple 30 years ago.
Yeah, not by looking at what already is a staple.
Fair point. You're right. Fair point. Yeah, okay. I don't have an argument against this. Jackson, were you going to say something?
Well, I was just going to say that the kind of innovation that quantum computing sort of promises is, I would liken it as being akin to sort of the digital and computing revolution. That's on the scale that I think that it would bring. A lot of people are very skeptic. A lot of people think that, we've reached sort of technological pinnacle, or like it seems like we're not progressing as fast as we were, say, 20, 30, 40 years ago. But, this kind of demonstrates that there is research going on, and that we just don't know about, that has the potential to like really skyrocket technological process or progress.
Yeah, I think we're just all like in a little echo chamber. Everyone's just only focused on Nvidia and GameStop.
GameStop's not doing so hot right now. It's time to sell your
Didn't they say something about like they were going to buy like a bunch of Bitcoin or something like that and create like a Bitcoin reserve? Didn't GameStop say something along those lines? I don't know.
How's that working out for him?
Yeah. I think it is not coincidence that GameStop bought a bunch of Bitcoin and then Bitcoin price went down. I'm just saying. I'll throw it out there.
Aren't they a game sales company, by the way?
I don't know what they do anymore, man. I think they're just a meme company now, to be completely honest with you. They're very much just like leaning into the meme.
I actually don't blame them for that. I think that was probably the optimal business strategy at the time. I just think they probably could have executed on it better, even though.
Yeah. I mean, it's been years since like the first like Wall Street bet GameStop thing, right? Like, why are they still leaning into it? I don't know.
Well, I mean, what else are they to do? Like, you can't just sit around. You can't sit around and just hope that retail sales of games are just gonna get better.
That's true. They are literally like the what was the blue box video? There it is. They are the Blockbuster of the video game industry for sure.
I did go into a game store, not GameStop, but like at the mall, like a card game and used video game shop, and that place was packed.
Really?
And yeah, and not only was it packed in like the retail shopping part, but like there was people playing games in the back too that was packed. And I mean, this is West Town Mall in Knoxville, which I guess is still for mall standards is like a really, really well attended mall. So I guess if you're just like in the right location, you can still do business in that.
I've been to that store too. I know that they sell a lot of vintage games too, and also like card sales is like a big part of their market.
I don't
That's
know.
just interesting.
There was people there, and they were spending money, and it seemed like a lively environment. I don't know why that the local one here, that one, the same business went out of business recently, and it was typically not that. But see, again, like that whole mall is the local mall here is not well attended, you know? So
well, that like it's interesting because you used to play a lot and visit those types of stores a lot, like late high school, call it 10 years ago at this point. But even Westtown Mall, would you not have said that like when we were like starting college, late high school age, like that industry was like dying? Like not a lot of people were doing it anymore? Or no? Do you feel like it was popping back then too?
I feel like card game sales are like doing better than ever now.
I agree.
Yeah,
collectible card games.
Yeah, Pokemon cards specifically.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, sometimes you would go to a local tournament and there'd be like 6 people there, and there was like no one in the store shopping.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's hard to say. But then
nowadays it seems like it's like you said, it's packed.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it could have to do with like this nostalgia and scarcity of.
I think it's also people like Logan Paul bringing back Pokemon, man, spending $5 million on a Charizard or whatever.
Yeah, I feel like that has happened in recent years. Like, I don't know. It's probably because of easy money during post-COVID times. Like,
yeah,
I think collectibles benefited from that.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, we got off topic here a little bit.
No, you're good. We can move on. That was all I had for quantum computing. Pokemon's way more fun to talk about anyway. Let's move right on into second period with your favorite professor. I guess I'm going to just downgrade myself here. Maddox, what's going on, man?
I'm not. No one has said that I'm the favorite professor.
Well,
that's never been said.
No one has not said
it's
that.
Also not true. We're all equally, except for Jared. We're all equally love professors. No, actually, Jared might be the most loved. Maybe
he might be. Maybe that's why we're purposefully making him scarcity. Scarcity content.
So today I've got I got a couple recurring segments. Start. We got business ideas, the good and the bad.
Yeah.
So this isn't my own idea, but I saw this and I was just like, this is pretty brilliant and could be replicated in your own local town. So you could go and start this.
All right, Jackson, get ready to criticize.
But vending machines. Jerome, you and I have talked about the vending machine business a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Pretty good. Like if you're looking for a good cash flow business, like this seems like a really good opportunity. But specifically this one that I saw had a niche that I just thought was so brilliant. So this guy has a vending machine business, but in the vending machines is over-the-counter medicines. And then he puts the vending machines in like walk-in clinics, like urgent care clinics. So you go to the urgent care clinic because you're sick, and then the doctor says you probably need this cold medicine. And then the vending machine's right there where you buy it.
Interesting. And they're all over the counter, so you don't need a prescription.
You don't need a prescription. You don't, and from a business perspective, I guess you can sell over-the-counter medicines and not need I don't know.
It's a way to cut down on the labor requirements, so it's like you don't have long lines or waits. Cuts down on staff needs.
I agree with you. This is brilliant. I guess my question is, why do urgent care clinics not have
why don't they just
built-in pharmacies? Yeah, or like why do they not have pharmacies? I've actually always thought this. Why do hospitals and shit? Well, I guess some hospitals do, but why do doctors' offices not have their own like, why do I have to go to the doctor, get prescribed something, drive all the way across town to Walmart or wherever to get my prescription?
That's actually a good point. That does seem pretty inefficient. Like, why?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's a margins thing.
Well, and then maybe it's because, a lot of people that are prescribed something aren't, maybe it's a recurring prescription, so it's more convenient to go pick that up like while you're at the store already or like out doing errands.
Yeah, I can see that.
They don't want those people just going to the doctor's office. But I guess you could just have both, like
Yeah, and I
or-
guess when you get like a prescription, it usually takes like an hour or two to fill. And what are you gonna do? Just sit around at the doctor's office for an hour or two? At least at the grocery store, you can go like shop or do something. That's interesting. Maybe this is a
Anywho.
problem they've already solved.
So there's that. I think that could be a cool opportunity.
I like it.
And then
I like that one.
there's the Wi-Fi cones.
Okay, give us some context here, because I don't know that the listeners understand.
Jackson was having internet issues pre-podcast, so what did you do? You made a device around your Wi-Fi router to
I
channel the
I
signal.
don't want to touch it, so I don't have Wi-Fi issues. I basically hold on.
For the audience listeners, he's having to get up to demonstrate what's happening.
So I had a shoebox lying around, and so I got some scissors and I cut it up, and then I like cut it up into. It's not a cone. It's more of just like it kind of looks like this, but that's I think 180 degrees is pretty good. I've seen some people have basically 300 degrees of coverage to direct it literally to their Wi-Fi router. But yeah, if I've heard that if you direct it to your Wi-Fi router, you can you can increase your like download and upload speed by like 2x ish, something like that.
There you go. Just
I'm a little
develop
confused.
a dedicated deflector.
Yeah, so here's the concept. So you know how Wi-Fi is like wave based, right?
Sure.
Let's assume that it is. If whenever you have a Wi-Fi, like let's say you have a Wi-Fi antenna, that's what I have on my computer. The waves are like sort of passing by it. Some will intercept it, but some will just go by it. Some might hit the wall and bounce back. However, if you have a cone that's literally surrounding it, like right around it, the Wi-Fi waves that hit it will literally bounce back very quickly.
Is this the same reason why, like back in the day, like cable mode, like cable TV things, like satellite dishes, are in the shape of cones? Is that the same concept?
Yes, because the waves come from outer space.
I literally never
redirect
knew this.
onto because the antenna is the point that's like the sticking out from from the disc, and that's why it's a disc shape, is so it'll redirect it to the focus.
Dude, I literally never knew this. Okay, so apologies, Maddox. Continue with your business idea. Wi-Fi cones.
Yeah, that's it. Just
would it be a separate?
1999.
Instead of Jackson making his little makeshift box Wi-Fi deflector, you just go buy like a really efficient one at Walmart.
3D printed, probably.
Okay, yeah, we could buy a 3D printer, start printing these things, sell them on Etsy.
Yeah,
millionaires.
Wow.
Probably not, but
what can I criticize about this idea?
It might already exist. This is the problem with most ideas. Most of them already exist.
We could sell them in vending machines inside of Radio Shacks.
That is not the strategy.
So the problem is you can DIY this pretty easily. That's why I think a low cost of production and a low cost of sale will help you. Because if people can buy something for $10, they won't do it themselves.
But Jackson, similar to like car washes that I was talking to Maddox heavily about while he was here, people love to buy things for convenience and not do it themselves. I feel like you're kind of an anomaly in the fact that you're a very DIY guy.
I'm not really a DIY guy. I'm just a don't do it kind of guy.
He's just a cheap guy.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Is that the word
too? Yeah.
I don't know. Well, but I feel like there could be an angle to this. Like you could make it look cool, or you could put, I don't know. I'm sure you could do something to make it like more appealing than just making it out of a cardboard box.
We can print like graphics and stuff on it. You can customize
like Dragon Ball Z or
yes, and then like
Anime Girls,
Goku's
Pokemon.
got like the Kamehameha like loaded up, but actually it's just all the beams are like
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool. You could each have like a different theme.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
good ideas.
There's some good opportunities. Good opportunities. Go out there and make them. They're not patented by me, so they're free for audience use
for now.
Although I'm sure no one is listening to this and taking these ideas. But markets with Maddox. We had some moves in the market since our last discussion. Primarily sell off in stocks and Bitcoin. And it is, it's specifically a growth expectations related sell off because as the stocks sold off, the bonds rallied in unison. So what is it? That's telling you that expectations about economic growth are changing because people are expecting less, expecting growth to come in worse than they previously were, and therefore are shifting out of stocks and going into bonds. The bonds that's a very typical dynamic where it's, you're expecting interest rates to then be cut by the Federal Reserve to stimulate the economy. Therefore, in the future, bonds prices would be higher because rates would have come down. So that's how you know it's growth related. Any questions?
Yes, I have lots of questions. So yeah, growth related. Like when you say that, you mean like people are expecting growth to kind of slow, or the expectations of growth were way too high relative to where companies are kind of actually coming in, like earnings wise or whatever.
Yeah, that specifically is what is happening. It's not about growth is going to be negative. It's about there was really, really high expectations about growth, and now that narrative is changing. And I talked about this.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was last episode.
For weeks.
But it was, and I talked about the last episode. Talked about the Trump's actual policies, like laid them out. They're not good for growth.
Right.
So it's just a story of the markets starting to realize that, like the markets were not right.
Yeah.
And now they're starting to realize this.
I was interested specifically in, I have been following specifically HIMS and NVIDIA like a lot this year, just in general. And both companies came in over expected earnings, right? And both companies have sold off a lot since. HIMS especially, which I think there's a separate problem with. I think HIMS offers a weight loss drug competitor that's like a generic or something. I believe Nordic or something, the company that produces Ozempic, there was a semaglutide shortage of some sort, and so HIMS was able to produce their competitor drug, and now their shortage is gone, and so HIMS is no longer able to produce their drug, something along those lines. And so it didn't matter that they beat earnings a lot. But NVIDIA, for example, I was just very confused, but because even like growth wise, like their revenues up 70% year over year or whatever, like insane numbers, but still sell off. And to your point, I guess it's just a mismatch of what's actually being expected versus a little bit of slowdown.
Well, that's why markets are so complicated, because there's all these different factors that are at play at the same time. But really, it's like, so that dynamic where you see, they beat earnings, so earnings were expected to be this, they came out to be this, the price should go up. But there's at the same time this whole changing of at the economic level, not at the stock level, which is at the economic level affects all the stocks. At the individual level, this big at the economic level change and growth in this is the current market prices are reflecting the future. So even if today NVIDIA beat earnings, there's a changing narrative about what the future is going to look like.
Yeah, for
NVIDIA. So it doesn't that doesn't matter as much as this big picture change in mindset.
Yeah.
But so I guess that's kind of what has happened in the last week, and just my expectations going forward. I think that that's probably going to continue to play out for, until something changes, right? That's what I'm always looking for. It's, what is in the big picture changing that could reverse or accelerate these dynamics. I think something else that is interesting that has changed about the narrative regarding Trump, when Trump got elected, the narrative was he's going to send the economy to the moon, send asset prices to the moon. At least in the discussions that I follow, which is not representative maybe of the entire set of way people are talking about these things. There's this narrative going on that Trump actually wants stock prices down. So, it went from the narrative has gone from Trump's going to send my portfolio to the moon to actually now Trump wants stock prices down. And it's not actually that he wants stock prices down. It's that he wants bonds low. He wants interest rates lower. And the theory behind this is that if you look back almost 5 years ago now, during COVID, interest rates were essentially near zero. And what this caused was just a ton of borrowing because money was essentially free to borrow, right? Like specifically by startup venture type firms, that was a really good time to be raising capital because it was cheap. If you remember the big SPAC boom, that was going on at that time. And so there was a lot of borrowing happening because rates were near zero. And that was almost 5 years ago. A lot of this borrowing was happening on a 5-year kind of term. Your startup, you can borrow for 5 years, and then that seems like a pretty good time frame to. At that point, you should be able to borrow some more. You should be far enough along that you can raise more capital or borrow some more. But what's happened now is this complete inversion of interest rates. So they were at zero, and now they're way up here. And the theory is that Trump knows that this time frame is lining up where all these businesses that borrowed during that COVID period at really, really low rates, their funding is expiring, and now they're going to need to raise more capital, but it's going to be at much, much higher rates. That's going to be very bad for business. So the theory is that Trump is intentionally postulating these policies that are anti-growth to not deliberately send stocks down, but to, that's just kind of how it works. But to get interest rates down, essentially, so that when all these companies have to start refinancing, it's going to be at a more desirable.
That is interesting.
More desirable rate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
is it also to create more space for companies to start growing again? Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's part of that too, and also it's early on when you take office, it's so easy to blame the previous administration for stocks going down. To be fair, I don't know. I feel like I'm not politically knowledgeable enough to know if the types of strategies that are being employed are even this intelligent. Yeah. I wouldn't think so, but also at the same time, I don't know. These politicians are clearly very good at playing this game and understanding how the world works. So maybe there is some 4D chess going on here. But yeah, I don't know. Regardless if that's the case or not, Trump he's been very, these policies that I talk about, they're anti-growth. He's been pretty serious about them for the most part. And if he's going to be serious about them, it's pretty obvious what the outcomes are in the short term for asset prices. But yeah, kind of what I'm looking for next is there going to be, what is the Fed response going to be? If there's quantitative easing at some point, that could be an indicator for a reversal in this dynamic. which, it could be a short-term reversal. Quantitative easing would be that would be something if the Fed currently they're doing quantitative tightening. If they switch back to quantitative easing, that could send a signal to the markets that, could result in like crypto like meme coin type things rallying a lot. Just stocks. It could the frothy parts of the market could rally a lot from that. But then that could just set up for like pushing this dynamic out further.
And for those of us that don't know what quantitative easing means, not me, obviously I know what it means. I'm going to let you explain, but obviously I know what it means.
Why don't you explain if you know what it means?
No. I'm going to let you. You're the expert. But for the audience that doesn't know what quantitative easing is,
it's basically just the Fed printing money to buy bonds, which creates liquidity and supports the bond market, which then that action, I mean, they're providing the liquidity to the bond market, which then it has an effect on rates too, because you're buying bonds, so that pushes rates down. But then it provides liquidity. Basically, the liquidity, it goes to all the other asset classes as well.
Got it.
And also, it's just that would be a big shift in the dynamic, because right now they're doing the opposite. They're selling bonds. Right. They're reducing their balance sheet. So that's something to look for in the coming months. That could be a short-term shift in kind of how these things are playing out. But I don't know. That's like the one big picture thing that could maybe change. Until then, obviously anything could happen, and I'm always trying to stay on top of what is going on. And you never know what's going to happen. But that's kind of how I'm thinking about it right now. Last thing on my list, I've got a topic request from my grandmother.
Whoa! Your grandmother watches the pod?
Yes, our most active audience members are my grandmother and Jackson's father, apparently.
Yeah, wow. My mom doesn't even watch the pod, which is crazy because she watches all of my content, or so I thought. So anyway.
She watches the clips though, right? Like the shorts?
I think so. I think she watches the shorts, maybe. Question.
She definitely likes them, I think.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Usually I'll see a short of ours and it's got one like and it's your mom.
It's my mom. Thanks.
So she requested we talk about the economic blackout protests that occurred. Did you guys know about this?
I do not. Well,
you guys are not well informed.
Yeah. I'm too busy worried about quantum computing, Maddox.
Yeah. Anyway, there's kind of a orchestrated economic blackout protest that happened on the 28th. So it was like a couple days ago. But yeah, the idea was just like, don't go spend at big corporations for one day as a way to protest. And so I participated in it because honestly, I was just like, yeah, I mean, like, why not? That's probably like a good, healthy thing to do anyway. But I researched it after the fact and was like, okay, like, did anything happen? And it doesn't seem like that there was that much of an impact. There was some data that suggested that like 16% of consumers participated in this. Which, I mean, if you do the math, like that can be like billions of dollars in spending that didn't billions of dollars in consumer spending that corporations didn't receive for that day. But I think it was probably more effective on like not from the actual monetary damages that it that it caused on these corporations, but probably just more from the discourse that it created among people that were participating in this. But I thought it would be interesting to like think about if literally like 100% of consumers didn't spend at big corporations for a day, like if that would be enough to cause any like actual meaningful damage to these companies.
You're talking about for one day or indefinitely?
Well, I mean, indefinitely obviously would be the best way to protest, but
yeah.
But so I asked ChatGPT, and I think it would actually be pretty tough on them. But I think the problem is that if it's just one day, then there's an element where it's like, okay, people are just deferring to the next day. Anything they needed to buy the day, they'll just buy the next day. So then there's like a rebound, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I think this is an interesting concept because this kind of does feel like a way that you have another way to vote in society.
Yeah.
Other than just through
vote
the
with your money
democratic
or whatever,
system,
right?
Yeah. Like we can actually, if you want to make a statement, but again, it's kind of like how democracy works. Like it's kind of got to be the majority, but I don't know. So, I mean, 16% of consumers participate in this. That's probably not enough to make change, but like, I feel like if you could get 25% of consumers to participate for like a week or something, like maybe you're getting into the realm of like you're getting a point across.
I obviously, I didn't know about this. I wish I had, because I'm pretty sure on the 28th I probably ate at Chipotle. But my quick Google, and believe this if you want to or not, economictimes.indiatimes.com. Pretty reliable source. Says that. Wait, actually, economictimes.indiatimes.com. Really?
Yeah, I've read from them before.
And that makes them a good source.
Jackson only reads from credible sources. So
that makes them a credible source because you also read from Reddit. Anyway, I digress. Anyway, they said on a given day, 5 to 10% of people won't shop at a store because of it's like something like rain, which I could believe that. But to your point, Maddox, maybe that is just like deferred revenue for these companies, But I agree with you, generally speaking. Like, I think if that is one of the best ways to vote.
Yeah.
Is to just not shop at the places that you don't want to support,
Going back to Maddox's analogy to this is an alternative form of expression besides voting. I've said this a lot, maybe not on the podcast, but to my friends and whatnot. A lot of people assume that the only way to express political power in democracies is to vote. And then they look at a country like, say, China, for example, which is arguably not democratic. Strong argument for that.
Why do you say that?
Well, they have an authoritarian government. Anyway, that's not the point. People think that, China's billion population, they have no political way to express political power. And I think that's not true. They can do things like protest, just to a certain extent. They, especially in Chinese culture, making angry posts online is unironically a very strong way to move the social and political needle in China. And, we have those opportunities here in the United States too. You can protest, you can strike. Striking's an excellent way to express your political power.
Jackson, I don't think you should hit people. You should not strike people, but continue.
Nonviolence striking, of course. There's ways for anyone listening. There's ways to effect with an E change besides voting. Voting is not the only thing. You can do other things too. Arguably, voting is one of the weakest ways to do it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think consumer protests are very successful. I mean, lots of things. I don't know why this is the first example that came to my mind, but it is like the Aunt Jemima bottle or mascot in general, right? Like people protested and they changed it, So
yeah, this
maybe
is
a bad example, but
no, that's good. Something I came across last week that's kind of related to this. So I'm in a Discord chat with other Turo hosts, so people that rent cars out on Turo. But there's a guy in there that has a Tesla Model S Plaid that he rents out on Turo.
Yeah,
and he had a guest that had booked a trip out in the future. but that guest canceled the trip, and he said, "Hey, sorry, man. Like, I really wanted to test out the Plaid, but given the kind of direction Elon Musk has gone, like, I can't do that in good conscience anymore." So he said, "I'm not going to rent this car." Because Elon was associated with it. But what he also said was, I own 3 Teslas that I just sold all 3 of them.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've thought that this is such an interesting thing, because I feel like initially, like, when Tesla first started making production vehicles, it was like, I'm buying this because I'm maybe trying to support the environment.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And now, like, the stigma, I guess, associated with Tesla is like basically whatever Elon Musk is doing now, which seems distant from that.
Yeah.
But
wow, that is on another level. Not to stroke my own ego here, but when Kanye went all nutso, I didn't even sell my Yeezys because I didn't want to get money for them. I gave them all away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you guys didn't know this? This is years ago. This is like probably 3, 4, 5 years ago at this point. I gave away all my Yeezys because Kanye was just being super anti-Semitic.
How much economic damage did you incur there?
I had 3 pairs of Yeezys. I probably could have gotten just under $1,000 for if I had sold them. Yeah. I was like, nice. I can't support this person anymore. And then, of course, like a couple months later, like no one cared about that anymore, and they didn't care that he was being anti-Semitic, and everyone's wearing Yeezys again. But, at least I stuck to my morals, I guess. And now he's back at it. He's walking around with swastika T-shirts and saying crazy shit again. But
well, that's all I have for my segment, my block, my period today. What are we calling them?
Blocks are good. I like blocks. Yeah, that was great. Well, on that note, let's move right on into a very quick recess. I don't really have much for recess this week. I just have one recommendation I want to make for the audience here. Arcane, a League of Legends story. I still have not watched season 2. However, I made the decision to go back and restart watching season 1. I don't know why I did it, but I did it. And
I'm surprised you actually did it. You were talking about it. I was like, he's never going to...
Yeah, I know. I know. Well, I'll tell you why. It's because my girlfriend started watching for the first time ever, and she was like, wow, this show's actually really good. And I was like, oh, snap. I know my friends tell me this show's really good, but I actually care about what you think, girlfriend.
Come on, dude.
And so I started rewatching it, and wow, dude, the art style of the show, I can't get over it. It is so pretty. It just, the story's great, and it looks amazing. I can't recommend it enough. I feel like if you have not watched the show, everyone should go watch the show. I have not watched season 2 yet, so no spoilers.
Yeah, it's a good, it's worth a watch. Another one worth a watch, Shrinking. Have you guys watched that?
Yes, I love that show on Apple TV.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been watching that, and it's really good. But the reason it made me think of it is Jackson's big water bottle.
Okay, I don't know the connection here. Go ahead.
You know, the Paul, the main therapist.
Yeah.
The girl. Ford. Yeah, the girl has the big water bottle, and then she's forced him to drink his to stay hydrated.
Yes.
He's like this old grumpy dude who's carrying around this girly water bottle.
Girly water bottle. That's right.
But that's what made me think of that. But another recommendation. That's a good one.
Good Rex. I have an anti-recommendation actually. Speaking of Harrison Ford, Captain America: Brave New World. Marvel's just not doing it for me anymore, man. So first off, they did a horrible job explaining what was going on, in the trailers and stuff. And I don't know how you explain this. Apparently, I don't know how familiar you guys are with Marvel. There's a character named Agent Ross or something, right? He's the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. or something along those lines, right? Apparently, the actor that played that character in real life sadly passed away a couple years ago. And so Harrison Ford's character Harrison Ford has now taken on the mantle of that character. And he is now the president of the United States. And he turns into, spoilers for Captain America: Brave New World, if you haven't seen, turn this off. But he turns into the Red Hulk, and that is who Captain America, who is now Anthony Mackie, is fighting. right? You won't understand that Captain America is now Anthony Mackie if you haven't watched Captain America or what's it called? The Falcon and Winter Soldier, the TV show, and it's all too intertwined. It's confusing. None of it makes sense anymore. And I'm just like, ugh, I hate this now, you know? And the other big thing, the whole like plot is that they discovered adamantium, which they describe as a new element from the celestial beings that are coming out of the Indian Ocean, which is from the movie The Elementals, which is probably Marvel's worst movie ever. And I'm like, why are you like bringing this into it? Also, they describe adamantium as a brand new element, but we've known that Wolverine's claws are made out of adamantium for literally like 20 plus years. What are we talking about? I don't understand. It was all just like, I didn't like the movie.
That's a different universe, maybe.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So it's all too confusing. It's a fine watch. But anyway.
Well, I'm glad you were able to vent that here with us. I'm sure that people will disagree with you in the comments.
You're right. People hate when I talk crap about Marvel, and they tell me to just read the comic books. I'm sure Jackson's right. Probably in comic book universe 73421, they don't know that Wolverine's claws are made out of adamantium or whatever. You know.
Just read the manga, bro.
Jackson, do you have any recommendations of anything that you've been watching recently?
No, nothing I've watched is. I don't really watch. I'm doing things other than watching. I'm reading a lot.
Really? Okay, give us a.
Mentioned earlier, the Jakarta method's good.
That's your recommendation. Okay.
I got a recommendation. Brave New World, not the Marvel
not
movie,
Captain
but the book
America.
by Aldous Huxley. That's a good book.
Okay.
There's two superhero movies that are named after classical works of fiction for no reason. There's Wonder Woman 1984 and Captain America Brave New World. They have nothing to do with the books. It's just
wait, Wonder Woman. I bet you Wonder Woman 1984 has nothing to do with the book. Or sorry, had no connection to 1984 at all. I bet you in the comics, like Wonder Woman does something in 1984. You know what I mean?
I think they like the year 1984 because it's popular because of the book.
Maybe. If you're a Marvel fan, you let us know.
I got one more recommendation.
Go ahead.
Severance.
Oh, also good.
Season 2 is coming out currently, and like we've been watching it every Friday night, and I've not looked forward to like a show coming out.
Really?
Like in a long time, I feel like.
Really? I felt like season 2 was a little slow for me. I'm not too far in. I'm maybe only like 3 episodes in, maybe. I was on the episode where they're like out in the wild in the snow and stuff, you know?
Spoilers.
Oh, they're in the snow. Okay.
That's kind of a spoiler.
Is it?
What are they doing? They're supposed to be in the office. They're supposed to be at their computers doing
fair.
macro data refinement. I don't know. I think it's...
All of the Reddit posts, like every time there's a new episode, there's a Reddit post on the front page of Reddit. So that's an indicator of how popular the show is.
I think that and this could go many different paths, but I think it's setting up to be one of the best shows of all time.
I mean, it's got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes or something like that.
It's got 100?
I think so, something like that.
Yeah. It's just so good at like keeping your anticipation, you know? Like it'll, and maybe people don't like this about it, but it's like each episode only reveals like just a little bit more of the puzzle, you know?
Yeah.
And like it's just like very, very slowly giving you new information. So I don't know.
Is season 2 the last season? Do we know? Have they said?
I don't know for sure, but I feel like it's not. I feel like there's probably maybe
more. Some more they can milk out of it.
I can't wait until all these shows are named after works of fiction, like Severance Season 3, The Great Gatsby, or something like that. You know what I mean?
Please, no.
That'd be funny. Anyway, on that note, thank you guys for watching the episode. As always, if you want to interact with us, the professors, talk about current events and what's happening, we haven't talked about it this episode yet, but come and join our Discord. Make sure not to join Maddox's Turo host Discord on accident. I don't know how you would do that, but link in the description below. Make sure you're subscribed to the new YouTube channel at 9 Degrees Pod, and to make sure that you can watch the video version of this podcast. TikTok, Instagram, both also at 9 Degrees Pod. So check those out. Thank you guys for watching the episode, and class is now dismissed.